Okay, so it's that time of year again, right? We all start thinking about these big, sweeping changes we want to make. But what if the entire way we think about resolutions is just fundamentally wrong? Seriously, forget all the hype about willpower and grand plans. We're going to look at a much smarter, more reflective way to actually change your life this year.
I want to start with just one number, 91%. Just let that sink in for a second. What on earth could that represent?
Yep, that's the percentage of New Year's resolutions that end in failure. We're talking more than 9 out of every 10 people. But here's the really important part. That's not a personal failing. It isn't because you're lazy or undisciplined. It's a systemic failure. The whole approach is flawed from the get-go, and understanding why is the first step to actually being in that successful 9%.
So why do all our good intentions just seem to fizzle out? Look, the new year is a great time for reflection, no doubt about it. But our strategy? It's usually to ride a wave of motivation and enthusiasm. And what do we know about motivation? It's a fuel source that we have absolutely no control over. It comes and goes. Building your plan for change on top of that is, well, it's like building a house on sand.
And here is the first huge flaw in our thinking. We only think in terms of addition. We tell ourselves we're going to start running or go to the gym or learn a new skill, but we completely forget a fundamental law of life. To pick something up, you have to put something else down. You only have so much time and energy in a day. A real plan has to include what you're going to subtract, like spending less time doom scrolling on your phone or finally cutting out that show you binge watch to actually make room for the new stuff.
All right, so if motivation isn't the key, what is? It's structured reflection. It's about slowing down. Instead of just blindly setting goals, we need to do a kind of personal audit. And these next 4 questions, they are the tools you need to cut through the noise and figure out what actually matters to you.
Think about it for a second. When you're watching a movie, the right move for the hero is almost always painfully obvious, isn't it? We're all shouting, "Don't go in there," or "Just leave that terrible job already." This question is so powerful because it gets you out of your own head. It lets you see the obvious, necessary change in your own life that you might be completely ignoring. Okay, this one is a bit of a mind-bender, but it's incredibly effective. Instead of picturing your ideal future, I want you to visualize the absolute worst-case scenario. Really define the daily habits that would guarantee a life of regret. And then comes the punchline. In what ways are you already doing those things? It's kind of scary how much overlap there often is between that miserable day and our current day. This question just shines a massive spotlight on the habits that are actively sabotaging your future happiness.
We always think we need some new, revolutionary advice. But the truth is, the advice you'd give to your past self is almost certainly the exact same advice you need to take right now. Why? Because our biggest hurdles, our deepest patterns, they tend to be recurring themes. The stuff you struggled with last year is probably still on your plate today.
And this is the ultimate clarifying question. This is the one that forces you to cut through all the clutter. When you really think about it, the answer is rarely a long laundry list of achievements. It's usually just 1 or 2 things that truly matter. This isn't about everything you could do. It's about the very few things that would make you look back and say, yeah, that was a good year. Now, after you've sat with those questions, you might start to realize something profound. You might find that the things you've been chasing, the things you think will make you happy, well, they might just be a trap. And this trap is built around something called the unteachable lesson. And here's the unteachable lesson in a nutshell. You cannot fix an internal void with an external accolade. You just can't. This is exactly why you hear stories about people who have all the money, all the fame, all the success, and are still deeply unhappy. They got to the top of the mountain and realized the emptiness they felt at the bottom came with them. It's a lesson people can tell you 1,000 times, but you often don't truly learn it until you experience it for yourself. This quote just perfectly captures the paradox. Think about it. If you believe a Ferrari will make you happy, it's actually easier to work like a maniac for 10 years and get the Ferrari only to realize it didn't solve your problems than it is to just convince yourself to not want the Ferrari in the first place. Sometimes the only way out is through. You have to get the thing to learn it wasn't the thing.
This brings us to another huge trap we fall into, the difference between what we can call observable success and hidden success. We are constantly, often without realizing it, trading away the things that genuinely make us happy for things that just look good on the outside.
And this slide lays out those trade-offs so clearly. On the left, you've got the shiny, observable stuff we chase, the fancy job title, the bigger house. And on the right, that's what we give up to get them, our peace of mind, time with our family, our actual health.
There are studies that show people will knowingly take a job with a longer commute, which is one of the biggest predictors of daily misery, just for a more impressive-sounding job title. It's crazy, but we do it all the time.
This whole concept is captured perfectly in the old parable of the Mexican fisherman. The story goes that a successful American businessman is on vacation and sees a local fisherman pull his small boat ashore with a few fish. The businessman is horrified by what he sees as a total lack of ambition and efficiency, and he immediately starts laying out a massive business plan for the fisherman.
So the businessman maps out this whole 20-year plan of bigger boats, canneries, international distribution, a whole corporate empire. And after each step of the plan, the fisherman just calmly asks, and then what? Finally, the businessman gets to the grand finale, the ultimate reward for all this work. And the punchline just reveals the incredible irony of the whole thing. The businessman's incredibly complicated, stressful, life-consuming journey ends at the exact same place the fisherman is already at today. Now, the lesson isn't don't be ambitious, not at all. The lesson is to be incredibly careful you don't spend your entire life climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall.
So how do we make sure our ladder is on the right wall? Well, it doesn't start with some giant heroic leap. It starts with small, smart, simple steps. So let's get super practical. Let's talk about a few easy habits that give you massive returns. These are your first dominoes to knock over.
This right here might be the single most powerful rule for building any new habit. We have this all or nothing mindset, right? We miss one day at the gym and think, well, that's it, I've failed. This rule gives you permission to be human. Missing once is just an error. It happens. But missing twice, that's a choice. That's the beginning of a new bad habit. This completely reframes how you think about consistency.
And here are 3 dead simple habits you can start tomorrow. First, no phone in the bedroom. Charge it somewhere else. This one change stops you from starting your day by reacting to a flood of emails and notifications. It puts you back in the driver's seat. Second, a 10-minute walk as soon as you can in the morning. Getting sunlight in your eyes is a powerful signal to your brain that it's time to wake up, and it sets your body clock for the entire day. And third, try waiting 90 minutes before you have your first coffee. Your body naturally produces cortisol, a wake-up hormone, in the morning. Let it do its job first, and you can avoid that awful afternoon crash.
So let's just end with one final thought that kind of ties all of this together. Real, lasting change rarely starts with more action. It starts with more silence. It's in those quiet moments we keep trying to avoid that the most important truths tend to bubble up to the surface. So the question is, what is the silence telling you?